Please rise for invocation by Pastor Sheila Turner, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to be together safely this evening and going over the agendas for this great city. We thank you for allowing us to go slow and make decisive agreements and be on one accord. We thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Foley.
Here.
Councilmember Tremont.
Here.
Councilmember Spillier.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bashir.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. We have a quorum. May I have a motion to approve the agenda for the evening?
Public comments. Yep.
We need an agenda for the evening first.
Oh, okay. Move to approve tonight's agenda?
Second. We have a motion and proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item 4, public comments on consent agenda items.
Got it.
You saw me looking your way, didn't you, Robert?
We did. Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive North. With regard to item 7B, the award of the Wrecker Service Agreement. I would really love for you to pull it off the consent agenda and send it back to staff to get it totally restructured. I wrote a letter that I sent to the interim assistant city manager, and I tried to provide all of you with copies of it. And what I would like to do is have that entered into the record if I give her, the clerk, a copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Anyone else? Consent agenda items?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman, and City staff. My name is Chris Tolland. I'm here today to represent a Century of Public Risk, a Foundation Risk Partners company in Daytona Beach, Florida. Our firm responded to your employee benefits bid, item 7A on the agenda. I'm here this evening to ask that you choose us over the recommendation of staff because we will save your taxpayers more money since we are 27% less expensive. We were deemed by your staff to be capable of doing a great job, and because clarification of our litigation status may result in at least a neutral impact on our evaluation. Therefore, I respectfully ask that you please pull the agenda item. Charlie Leidecker, Tom Leake, and other business leaders started 3 years ago, and our company quickly grew to employ 81 employees in Volusia County, 1,700 teammates nationwide, 10 in Port Orange, including Robin Riley, who would be the main point of contact. We are very grateful that staff recognized our qualifications in a manner that yielded a very competitive bid score versus a much older company. Brown & Brown received 88.17 points, and we received 84 points. We believe staff did the best they could, but might have made a different decision if they had interviewed our firm. Please understand that we are aware of protesting procedures. However, win or lose, it's better to bring up possible areas for reconsideration, at a minimum suggest improvements for the future versus protesting and casting a negative cloud on an otherwise good process. Our fee is $42,500 versus $58,000, which is 27% less expensive than Brown. In addition, the adoption of our wellness program could yield another $56,000 in savings to your employees. During the evaluation meeting, it was indicated that both companies would be able to do a great job and were very professional. The scores certainly reflected that. We hope you understand that going with us would not diminish the level of service and expertise provided to the city. Finally, during the same evaluation committee meeting, an evaluator indicated that we have litigation against us, and Brown & Brown does not. As is public knowledge, they also have litigation against them. The actual question in the bid was whether there had ever been a judgment against us by a judge or an administrative agency. And the answer to that question is no, as both firms indicated. In conclusion, we may be a newer company, but we are not new to Port Orange, and we've been in this business for years working locally with many of you. During that time, we've gotten to know that your council always acts in the best interest of its residents. In summary, we ask that you choose our firm. In doing so, you will save the taxpayers over $15,000, and possibly an additional $56,000 to your employees. Therefore, I respectfully ask that you please pull the agenda item so we can discuss these savings to the City of Port Orange. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? There being none, may I have a motion in regards to the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda items 6 through 13.
Second.
We have a motion and a proper second to approve items 6 through 13 on consent. Call the roll.
Councilmember Foley,
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Citizen participation, non-agenda. Robert Reinhagen.
Mayor, council members, with regard to the Riverwalk project, I may not have been paying close enough attention or have been naive, but I thought that the city's vision of Riverwalk Park was for a park along the entire length of the river, with the centerpiece being a trail for walking, running, and bicycling, and that development along Ridgewood Avenue is a secondary concern. At the workshop on the Riverwalk update, the City Council approved the proposal to hire a broker to market the entire southern section of the Riverwalk Park development, and would permit the developer to consider realigning the trail that currently follows Halifax Avenue on the property. Even a suggestion that a developer could consider development along the riverfront violates that park vision. It also provides a false sense of what could be possible. The lure of developing prime riverfront real estate should be removed from the marketing search. I suggest that the east 30 to 50% of the area be redesignated to a city park zoning, and then only the area to be offered for marketing should include just the 50 to 70% that actually fronts on Ridgewood Avenue. And I think once you open it up, as I think it happened at the workshop, I think it's a dangerous slope that you're going to have trouble getting away from. And I can just imagine condominiums on the river front and no public access at all along that whole section. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Robin, that was it?
That is it.
Okay. Brings us to council comments. Councilman Foley.
Well, first off, I'm sure everyone's going to hit on this, but let's just make sure that we make very well aware of what's coming up with Dunlawton from May 8th to May 12th, 6 a.m. Right there where Dunlawton crosses over the railway. They're going to be doing some work there, and that's not the city of Port Orange, but just be aware that that road will be closed. You will need to find alternate routes, and all the time we can take to let people know, the better for the future. So tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell any of the residents that will be closed again from May 8th to May 12th. So I want to make sure that gets out there. And secondly, I asked the mayor if he'd be okay with this, and he said yes. As everyone knows, over the last few months, before finding this wonderful gentleman here to my left, we had a very, very special person leading the ship and working tirelessly and very hard. And as I was getting acquainted to this seat, she was getting acquainted to hers, and she did a great job. And so
I'll tell you what, why don't we thoroughly embarrass her? When you have the assistant city manager come up to the podium?
that's a great idea.
Assistant. Susan's not here.
Jamie, I know being here has to be better than being there, right?
A little bit, yes.
Well, anyway, so I asked these other gentlemen, if we could do something collectively as a way of saying how much we appreciated you and what you did while you were serving in your time as the interim city manager. And so we all chipped in with the help of actually Kat Atwood and her husband. And I will say this was his, I had an idea, but he actually, he brought it to life for us. And so I want to present you with something here. This is on behalf of the mayor, vice mayor, and city council to you as our thank you for all that you did.
Thank you very much.
No, sir.
Should I take it with me?
Open it. Let's see it. Yeah,
They
We haven't seen it.
yet? Okay.
only pictures.
This is family suitable, yes?
So I'll tell you, if my husband's watching, he always says that I make a horrible face when I get presents. And so whenever I'm upset, he says, I'm making my, oh, Jamie just got a present face. So just take that with a grain of salt. So I'm sure most of you have come to realize that surprises are, make me a little, I don't like. So this is beautiful. Thank you. This is really amazing. So.
That's,
We can't take credit for the credit.
I'm so humbled. You know, I had so much fun. I learned a tremendous amount. I thank you guys for all of your support and everybody sitting here in this audience, you know, and I'd be remiss. I know Heather's still pulling double duties as the admin services director, and we've said a million times we could go down the line and say all of the names and the thanks, and we would miss somebody, and it's such a wonderful team. But I loved it. I had such a great time, and I enjoyed being right next to Wayne as we continue going through it, and
Good.
Port Orange and its residents is well served, and I look forward to continuing to do so. Thank you. Thank you.
Jamie, if I can,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'll just, while you're up there, I'll make
that's
a
right,
comment.
everybody gets to pile on.
I'm going to try to enjoy your companies for as long as possible, because you're too good to not be at the helm somewhere at some point. So based on that, your qualifications, you know, I think our time is short-lived. Hopefully not. I mean, I'd like to keep you here forever, but not at a disservice to what another city could gain at some point. And I only say that because I believe our guy's going to be around for the long haul,
I hope
which
so.
I'm glad,
Absolutely.
which I'm glad for. But you are strong, you're smart, you're tough, and you're decisive, and those are extremely admirable qualities. And you demonstrated that throughout your entire tenure as interim manager, and I look forward to a continued working relationship.
Thank you, sir.
Scott, you want to add?
I just want to say we can't take any credit for the creativeness of that.
Yeah,
That's pretty,
yeah, that
pretty
wasn't
awesome.
It is
Definitely
very
a one of a kind,
awesome.
but
It's-
no, congratulations, and again, thank you for everything you do for the city.
Yeah, ditto. Thanks for everything. You know, it was a situation you were appointed, you know, put in by us, and you definitely rose up and rose to the occasion and did a terrific job for the entire time. And I mean, you've always served the city well, and so this was just a little something we can say to, you know, let you know we appreciate you.
Just because we're not doing Monday morning Zoom calls anymore doesn't mean that we're still not going to be talking
That's
quite
right.
a bit.
That's right. So-
Jamie, thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you
Appreciate
guys. This is tremendous. Thank you.
Now you got to take your mess with you too.
Yes,
now.
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Jonathan, you got anything else?
That'll be all, Mayor. Thank you.
Chase,
I'm good.
Drew,
Nothing else?
Scott.
Yeah, I got a few things. I'll try to move through these kind of
Okay.
quick. So first thing I wanted to do was comment on the Riverwalk visioning meeting that we had last week, and thank staff. They did a fabulous job putting together material and information. And I know that there's always a lot of work, and there's a lot of folks behind the scenes who aren't necessarily at those meetings. And I just want to express my gratitude and thanks for everything they're doing, because I know that sometimes the council collectively can make staff have to pivot on a dime, so to speak, and you guys do that better than anybody, so really appreciate that. Just a follow-up comment to Mr. Reinhagen's comment would be that the Riverwalk vision is over 25 years old. It started with a mixed-use vision, always. It was always intended to be a destinational kind of a place for this community. It was never intended to be a gigantic public park that stretched an entire corridor area that the city and the initial business partners acquired just to take completely off the tax rolls. There is a huge debt that still has to be paid. That's only going to ever get paid back with investors that want to come in and revitalize that area and bring something to the city that's going to give our residents a destination place and help always to kind of revitalize and reinvigorate the east side of the city, the River District. We've already seen a ton of positive results. A lot of businesses reinvesting in themselves. There's several, I don't want to get too far down that because there's projects coming that private business owners are bringing forth to the council, and it's on their timeline to disclose that publicly, but the amount of business owners that are already down there that are planning to invest in their own businesses because of what they're seeing and the momentum of this is amazing. It's very, very refreshing to see because we don't want any part of our city to ever fall into blighted conditions. And so we got to take care of and reinvest in the older areas and continue to do that. And that's exactly what we're going to continue to do. I will also comment that the amount of feedback that I have received in the last week alone from our residents for mixed use along that area is absolutely remarkable. Remarkable. I mean, it is very consistent across the spectrum, so to speak, of what the residents are looking for. And also, the city council never has said anything about taking away public access along that waterway. Not one time have we ever said that. Nobody said that. I don't know where that just came from. Nobody said that. So there will always be public access along that riverfront area. So that's the whole thing behind this, is to give residents a destination, a local destination, and something really special down in that area. And I think this council will work hard at it. And actually, the park that this council and previous councils actually have designed and constructed was not part of the original vision. So that whole feature in the north end was actually never part of the original
another
vision.
condo.
Yeah, that was going to be another condo, and so I think that was a great thing that the council did, was take a huge, massive part of that and create a park area where we can have festivals and gatherings and all of that stuff. And that seems to be very, very well received by our community because it seems to be always full. So that's a great thing. Mr. City Manager, along the trail area that's down there now, there's a lot of landscaping that was done, kind of, I guess, would be contiguous to where the fish construction site is now. The palm trees still have old bracings up. They're basically starting to kind of fall apart and come off the trees. Can we just have somebody look at it? I don't know if those are our trees or if those belong to the developer that's down there or what, but if we can kind of look at that, because they probably need to be removed at this point and kind of cleaned up and picked up. And I was going to have and I think we should ask the city manager if he could have the chief kind of give us a little overview on the detour and the traffic plans for this FEC Dunlawton project. If you could do that.
Yes, sir. He's prepared.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. So yes, the FDOT project on Dunlawton at the railroad tracks. So between last week and the first 2 days of this week, we have been in constant communication with FDOT. And so our goal, I truly do believe our goals are, in the end, our goal is the same, and that's to keep a safe environment, not only for the workers, but for our motorists as well, and to make traffic flow. So we've been working on some ideas, and so we've come to some agreements what we're going to do out there. FDOT has agreed to hire 2 Port Orange Police Department officers for traffic control. These posts are going to be 24-hour posts. Originally, when we started talking last week, it was the entire project from Saturday to Wednesday. It looks like today, I think we got an email that they may be able to get the bulk of the work done over the weekend, and maybe Monday sometime around noon or thereafter. they may be able to lighten the load a little bit. So we'll address that. We'll adjust on the fly on that one. We will also have each day. Our big concern, obviously, is Port Orange Elementary right there during Monday through Wednesday. And so each day we're going to have 2 motor officers present during school student arrival and dismissal or departure times. We're going to troubleshoot the traffic flow, try to make it flow a little bit better, and try to help the parents getting into the parking lots. We did notify the Port Orange Elementary School as well for distribution of information to the parents. FDOT is providing message boards starting today at these locations, east and west of the project area. In total, we got them to give us 9 electronic message boards. So we think we will not have to use any of our own. However, if we do, we will. If we see the need for it, we will do whatever we can to make it flow a little easier. There will also have cones set up, barricades, detour signage. Those will all be placed in compliance with MUTCD standards. And then we sent out messaging on our social media platform, and forgive me, I'm going to ask Christine if she's still here. Did we send it out on yours, or do we hook to the cities?
I sent it out and he shared them.
Okay, so we shared that message, so all followers all together. Hopefully they send it out to their links as well. But we wanted to talk about, make the followers aware of the road closure, potential traffic delays, and make them aware of the detour routes as well. And then lastly, I contacted South Daytona this afternoon, spoke to Chief Cheatham, and advised him that likely he's going to see more traffic on 1. And I'm thinking probably more so over the weekend with some of the beachside traffic coming back. One of the things we did with the signboards today, we spoke to FDOT, we moved one of them further up Dunlawton towards the base of the bridge to give people coming over the bridge, going westbound, advance notice of which lane to get into. Because the last thing we want is them trailing a trailer with a boat and getting in the middle lane and then finding out at the intersection it's blocked off, and then they got to try to get over to the next lane and it's going to be packed. So we're trying to do things like that. We're trying to think ahead. We're trying to troubleshoot those things. We will have people out there this weekend monitoring and trying to make adjustments on the fly. So our concern really is, it's really trifold. We want to provide a safe environment for the workers. This has to be done. There's infrastructure improvement. It has to be done. So we ask that our citizens, our motorists, be careful going through that area and be understanding as well. Give yourself extra time. We're trying to get that message out as well. And again, safety of the workers, safety of our motorists, and then a smooth traffic flow. We understand there's going to be some bumps in the road there, but we'll try to make it as smooth as possible for everyone. So we will be out there and adjusting as needed.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
And also, I did have one resident ask me if there was going to be any additional ambulance services staged on that side of the city, so to speak, only because of the difficulty of trying to get them through a 2-lane detour. Because like on Spruce Creek Road, there's really nowhere for cars to pull over to get something like that through. So if we can give that some thought, and maybe, I don't know what can or can't be done, but it's certainly going to create some time where that could be quite challenging as opposed to being able to shoot straight down Dunlop and go across. So
we will, and I'll get back to you on what the answer is.
fine, thank you. That's all I got, Mayor.
Okay. Couple things. First of all, I wanted to publicly comment on a news story that ran last week concerning a inspection that was done, or rather not done, at a home in Port Orange over a month ago, where what City of Port Orange does is during peak times when it's difficult to keep up with doing timely inspections, we contract with a service that helps us, a private sector company that helps us do our inspections. And the inspections are important. The reason we do inspections is to protect the public good. We want to make sure that roofs are being put on property, that electrical, plumbing, all the things. We want you to have a safe house. So those things are important. That's why when we say do-it-yourselfers, if you're not sure if something needs a permit, call community development. We'll tell you whether it does or not, and we'll help you through that. But I was very disappointed to hear that this company's person, there's no such thing as a drive-by inspection. He showed up, got out of the car, talked to somebody, got out in the car. We found out the next day, and we were responsive. We sent out one of our inspectors to make sure the roof was safe and sound before the job. So it was another month before the story came to light. So in that regard, it's a little disappointing. But it doesn't matter. That inspector works for a company that works for us. I wanted to let everybody know that that company has held that person accountable. We were not going to allow him to do inspections in the city of Port Orange ever again, and the company has taken proper action as well. So we take that very seriously. Inspections are not just another thing you've got to do in the construction or rehab process or whatever it is. It is vital. Matter of fact, I don't like it when people try to cut that out. You have contractors trying to sidestep doing inspections, doing work on weekends. If people aren't sure if their contractor has, there are a number of times contractors will say, yeah, I have permits. If you're not sure yourself about your contractor, call us. We'll help you. We'll work with you. It's vitally important that we do this and do this right. And I just want to apologize to anybody that saw this as a failing on our part. It was. Granted, it was a contractor that worked for us. We have reacted to it. We have fixed the problem, and moving forward, like I said, I apologize that it happened, but this is what we do. We're not perfect. When things happen, things go wrong, we find it, we fix it, so that it's better next time around, and then we move on. We're not hiding it. There's none of that. But at the end of the day, we are responsible, and I accept that. I fully accept that.
Mayor, if I can just add to that point, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And then that is good we do own up anytime we make a mistake, but I will say, just for the public's awareness and for future reference as the public wants to inquire on projects, on permitting and things of that nature, I'd say the amount of conversations I've had with our community development director, every time I've been asked by either a resident or a business owner, can you check the status of a permit where we seem to be backlogged? We're not getting it. We've been through 2 and 3 months, we're still not getting anything back. And I'd say 99% of the time that I've done the research to find out where in the process we're at in that, it has been because the contractor has not pulled them or has not followed through the proper paperwork. And the city is often the easiest scapegoat for that. So government certainly does have its share of mishaps. But I also don't want to take the blame for things that are not the fault of government, and oftentimes it is a contractor trying to skirt the system. So just want people to be aware of that and do your due diligence, and always contact one of the council members. It's simple to just make a quick call, find out where they're at in the process, so they can hold their contractors accountable to do their job.
Very good. I mean, and I experienced that as well. I had a neighbor that asked me, the contractors said they've been waiting for the permit for the city for 3 weeks. It was actually about 72 hours, but all the same, like I said, if anybody has any questions about permitting, call community development. They're probably going to hate me because their phone's going to ring like crazy the next couple of days, but that's okay. At the end of the day, they're going to count those phone calls and say, hey, we got something done that was good. So,
can we get an update at some point? I know we talked a little bit a while back about our permitting process being brought up with the times of technology and online permitting. Can we get an update of where we're at on that at some point?
yes, sir.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to mention, Wayne, if you could do me a favor, I know that a lot of things are in flux, and particularly with progress on vaccinations, I'm sure that staff has talked about what we plan to do for July 4th. Want to make sure that we're still doing it safely, but if you could slide something in the weekly for us at the end of the week, let council know what our preparations are for July 4th, because I think a lot of people are curious and are going to start asking about that. Certainly, we'd like to return to normal, but we want to do it safely. So if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it.
We will.
Okay. Board appointments, interviews, and reports. Environmental Advisory Board.
Good evening, everybody. Mayor, Council, and Mr. Clark. I'm the Environmental Advisory Board Chair. Very nice to meet you. First, before we get to our board, I wanted to let you know that, and you all know that we were part of the Environmental Advisory Board seating in Edgewater, and that our staff, city staff worked with their city staff, and we made presentations from our board, and they seated their Environmental Advisory Board just recently. And they have 7 members on their board. They were a little different because of the way they, their logistics. They had people from the county and the city appointed to their boards. So it was really exceptionally supportive of Port Orange to help them out through that. So I wanted to thank you very much and the city for helping them.
Good stuff.
So we are also in charge of brownfields. We have had presentations in charge, meaning they report to the Environmental Advisory Board of brownfield projects in the city. We have had continuous updates on the Williamson brownfield project that is going to be completed. They presented their last report. You all have their report, so they were overwhelmed with how big the project was, but they delivered on what their project requirements from the state, and that is almost a completed project successfully in our city. We don't know right now if there'll be any more, but that was a very successful project for us. Using the attorneys, and we had presentations by the state. They kept us very well informed of their progress.
And you're talking about the Advent, where the Advent being built?
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Just for those that are watching.
I'm sorry?
Just for those that are watching.
Yes,
that
the
know
Advent
And for me,
on
I was,
Williamson.
wanted
Yeah.
to confirm that too.
Yeah.
Just to comment on that particular project before you go on is amazing how much money they invested into cleaning up that lot. And it's a blessing to the city because it was a mess and there were a lot of issues there underlying. And for somebody to come in and want to put a project there was a massive undertaking that had to happen before they could do anything. And that's a lot of money that they
It was
invested.
bigger than they thought it
Yeah,
could
it
have been.
turned out to be a
There's
lot
no
more,
way to
and
know.
that's the risk, right? I mean, that's some of the risk, and once they're in it, and there's a cost to be paid, and so I hope people do appreciate the amount that they've put into that to get that property cleaned up, to be able to see that project through.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Didn't part of it, they had to go under the road, right?
They even found some issues that were unexpected, so to speak.
Of course.
Yeah, sometimes we think that we know, with our
Yeah.
advanced technology, that we know things. We really don't. It just,
Not until you get under the dirt.
it literally,
Yep.
under the dirt, so. And they were very diligent about presenting to us, not quarterly, but 3 times, I think, in 2 years, we saw very extensive presentations from Cobb Coal. There are a lot of tree issues coming up. You had some on the agenda. We recognize that this is becoming more of a subject that is not a positive subject for the city or the board or the people that come before us. And so we have continuous discussions with city staff on how we are going to address that as well, because there's no clear-cut answer, no pun intended. I really didn't mean to.
You walked into that.
Wow. The left brain just went, you didn't just say that.
Good.
And so this is a continuous process for us, and we also hope that that will be one of the subjects that we'll be discussing at the meeting that will be put together between the council and the Environmental Advisory Board in the near future.
Just to pause on that, just to comment on it. I'm glad to hear that because we are seeing that, and I've had a number of folks in neighborhoods where I've gone and taken tours of their neighborhood and seeing the damage that's being caused, and it's a financial impact when they've got to fix their porches, they've got to fix their driveway, I mean, that's a lot of money that people no longer are able to invest into their quality of life, but they have to invest in the maintenance that is caused by, Mother Nature. So I'm happy to hear that you're going to do things. There's got to be a balance somewhere. So compliment you on keeping tabs of what's going on and putting that into your your wheelhouse.
Right, and it's not, the board is just not about tree measurements and what type of trees. We're not all about that. We're about the people that are in the city. And that is really difficult to find that balance. But between council and also people having experience in the different areas of concern will really help it, because there's not, even in 6 months it'll be different. And so we have to stay on top of that and change. I mean, I know the gentleman that was sitting here, and then other ones that have, asked for permission to take down our trees, and they're big and they're old trees, and it's hard to say yes, but we have to search our hearts and search common sense to find an answer with each individual situation presented to us. That brings us to our tree bank, and tree bank is where people cut down trees and mitigate, and they have to pay the city. A little more complicated, but that's the bottom line. So we have a task to help use that money wisely within the city. And so it was discussed this time that we may use that, attempt to use the money for mangroves for a living shoreline in Port Orange. So that is one suggestion that was made. And we hope to discuss that further, because it seems very logical, addressing subjects brought up earlier about the park, and further construction and further river impact. And so each time we can prevent an area from destruction or further invasion of, whether it's dirt that shouldn't be there, taking out the trees, seawalls that really shouldn't be there, living seawalls should be there, or just fertilizer. It doesn't matter what it is. How we impact that river is directly relates to the quality of our city. And so taking that money and starting that conversation is something that is very important to the board as well.
Can I ask a question on, and this might not be an easy answer because there's all sorts of thousands of different types of trees, so is there a ballpark figure of what it costs to plant a tree? The reason I ask is, a lot of these homes, if they're going to request a tree to be removed from their yard, we're going to make them by code pay to put another one in.
Right.
And I don't know how expensive they are, so is that also another use of those funds where people can be awarded a grant to help pay? I don't know if that's a management question, but I was just curious since you're on that.
Well, when you pay, if they're going to take the tree down, they're the ones paying into the fund. So so you're like requesting or asking about grants to people to mitigate what they've done coming from the tree bank?
Well, Wayne, might want to address as well. If it's somebody that they've got to take a tree down because it's constantly ripping up their driveway. It was put in there by the developer. It was just a bad spot. So if they have to, remove that, well, it costs money to remove that, and then it's going to cost more money to put something in. Some of these folks are on fixed incomes, and it's due to an ordinance that we passed that required them to pay for that. Is there assistance available for that?
One, for the cost question, it will vary by the species of tree and the size of the tree when it goes in, what the costs are, and Ms. Tomlinson can probably help with what the actual costs are for a typical tree that would be a replacement tree. If we were doing, what I can't remember now is whether we're doing 2 4-inch trees. It will vary. We might have a basic cost for that. I don't believe that we have a program where we use any of the tree fund to assist at this point. If that's something the council would like us to look into, it's something we can do.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a need. While we're addressing one issue, there's always ramifications, people that are on fixed incomes, and I want to be sensitive to their
In some cases,
wants.
they have minimum requirements for number of trees. They may have exceeded the number of trees that are a minimum. They may not actually have to plant back. It depends on the current situation of their lots.
In addition, we had a situation a year ago over in Treetop where instead of taking the tree down, the they worked with the roots, redid the road, and we didn't have to kill the tree. So there are further discussions that we can have regarding how you deal with the tree. It doesn't have to be that we just whack it down. And we have to think a little bit more seriously about the further impact. We're not talking about what's happening today and maybe their sidewalk, and not to minimize that at all, but we're talking about our children and grandchildren and further Port Orange quality of life, because we have to have trees. And so that's why it's a very difficult subject to talk and make a decision regarding somebody's life.
Sure. And I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
I also just want to be addressing the financial impact that'll have on people, how to measure both.
Right.
I'd
and
be
we brought
happy
the
to get
city-
you information on typical cost. We'll send that out to you, so you'll know what a typical cost is, replacement trees, just to give them a ballpark
Yeah,
estimate.
it's a good idea.
So we can slide that into the weekly for all of us.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, and finally, we are working on reaching out for new members for our board. We need people with great enthusiasm, and we need people that are willing to do the work, come to the meetings, and stay on the board. We have a great team now. We accomplish a lot. Our focus is on our members, on our city, and I really think that we just need to get the word out a little bit more loudly, that we really would like people to apply for our positions on the board, and that it's very easy to do on the Port Orange website. And so if anybody knows somebody that would like to be on our board, please apply, because we are really focused on building this up within the city, and we are one of the few cities that have such an active board, and we need more people with ideas and more progress in how we are going to deal with our river and trees. Okay? Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, well,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Christine.
Public hearing item 16, second reading of ordinance number 2021-11, amendment to chapter 26, article 4, section 26-71, emergencies, garbage, trash, debris, refuse, and right-of-way and parkages. An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, chapter 26, article 4, section 26-71, providing for garbage, trash, refuse, debris to be removed by a property owner, tenant, lessee, or occupant from parkages and right-of-ways in times of an emergency, and establishing a service fee, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2021-11.
We have a motion, proper second. The item's open on the floor for discussion. Second reading. Council questions?
Nope. Second reading.
Anyone here want to speak to the item? There being none, council, comments or questions? Final shot? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Foley.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Councilmember Silver.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Basham.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 17, update on Dunlawton Avenue Medium Landscape Project. Wayne, you had a pretty good recap in the agenda package. What do we want to add to that?
Our Public Works, Public Utilities Director, Lynn Stevens, is here to lead this, and Margaret Tomlinson also, if you'd like to hear from her.
Okay. Council, do we have anything else that you want to know about that? Or come on up, Lynn, show your face. This is what happens when you take a vacation. You got to come back and be seen, even if you didn't go far.
Good evening, Lynn Stevens, Public Works Utilities Director. So Dunlawton looks marvelous. I mean, the contractor did a wonderful job with the landscaping. We have recently transitioned from construction phase over to the maintenance phase. We have retained the same contractor that did the construction, is also responsible for the maintenance of that area of Dunlawton. That was included in the original bid for major thoroughfare landscaping. If you recall, we redid all the bids for our landscaping a couple of years ago, and we took those major thoroughfares and made them their own bid because they were such important areas for us to maintain. So we wanted to increase the level of service in those areas, so we redid the bid. Dunlawton was included. What we did is we broke it into segments. Knowing that Dunlawton construction was going to happen, we broke it into segments so that we wouldn't pay for those segments during construction. So now we've transitioned from construction over to maintenance. Again, it is the same contractor that had the maintenance contract prior, as well as the same contractor that did the work out there. So we also created, about 2 years ago, we created a position called landscape manager, grounds manager, that was going to oversee all of the landscape contracts. It took us a while, but we did hire for the position. The person was on board. Unfortunately, recently left us during this transition period. So we have regrouped. That manager position is on the board. We're looking actively seeking a new manager for that. In the meantime, what we've done is we've split the duties up for the maintenance contract so that nothing falls between the cracks.
Good.
We have talked, you will also notice on the landscape on Dunlawton, there are 2 areas where there is Bahia grass instead of St. Augustine. It will look a little bit bad at times because I believe there's no irrigation in those areas either, because FDOT plans to expand the turn lanes on those areas. We also have an area, trying to remember the name of the cross street, like Village Trail area, where people have been cutting the turn lane and driving onto the median. Really bad spot. We've ordered some new delineators, but with COVID, unfortunately, a lot of our deliveries are delayed.
Is that Yorktown?
No,
Oh.
it's not Yorktown.
Country.
Yorktown is the one where the turn to Yorktown to the south is where you have the Bahia grass. That's where they're going to be changing that turn lane.
Okay.
The other one is there at Victoria Gardens. Is the other one in front of the annex.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's
Thank
the
you.
other area. Well, you will notice that the grass is completely different color. It looks like it's going to die at times. There is no irrigation. We didn't want to put irrigation in there and then tear it all out when they redo those turn lanes. There is one just further east of that intersection where they've really been cutting that corner really bad. So delineators are ordered. As soon as they're in, we'll get those up.
The only thing I wanted to add was that what Councilman Steltner mentioned a couple weeks ago is that, of course, we all know that this is the first spring grow-in period it's going through, so it's kind of critical that we may stay on top of the follow-up with maintenance. So I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that and how that's going to be done. So
Staff and I met with the contractor yesterday. As a matter of fact, I did just get off vacation. And during my vacation is when we lost our landscape manager. So
Don't take any more vacations.
Apparently. I was telling someone it's the first 2 weeks in a row I've had off in about 15 years. Teach me, right? But anyhow, I did meet with the contractor yesterday, staff and I, and we laid it on the line very clearly to the contractor, our expectations. And we instructed them that we're not going to call them 5 times a day on what they need to do. They know what they need to do.
Okay.
And we reiterated that. So they're on board. They're changing the way they do their reports to us weekly. So we'll know where they're going to be, what they're going to be doing. The contract requires them to service those medians weekly. Service may be mowing, regardless of what it is. We've explained to them, we don't have to tell them what the service is. They know what it needs to look like.
Yeah.
And that is our expectation.
Needs to look like that kind of money needs to look like Disneyland.
And we did bring that phrase up to them.
Okay,
there you
good.
go. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We model ourselves off
Yeah.
the finest customer service organization in the world. Council, you got any questions or comments to
Yeah.
add?
On the trash, I know they pick up trash. I've seen them pick up stuff, so they don't run it over. I've seen them run it over with the mower too, but for the most part, they pick it up when they're there. What happens in the interim? Because there's a small dining room chair in the,
Should be gone by now.
okay.
I saw that there by Nova.
Yeah, in between there and Jackson.
Yes.
And
I saw
then-
that earlier today. Staff picked it up this afternoon.
Okay, and then a little further east,
There was a sign, some garbage.
something busted up and laying in the grass there, and we can't expect them to be there every day, but does somebody regularly, routinely do that? The biggest part of the trash is close to the lights. People just,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you've noticed, but with the new street sweepers, we're able to keep the streets even cleaner,
Yeah.
especially around those lights. So staff has been doing a great job. The new street sweepers are working wonderfully.
Wish we had a
So-
median
so,
sweeper.
Yes, we've been doing a greater job there keeping that area clean. But you're right, there is a lot of trash being dumped out there, whether it's blowing out of the back of people's vehicles or they're just throwing it out the window. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
We have expressed our concern to the contractor. They said that they have a detail person that's on our site 3 days a week, just looking for those types of things. Today I drove Dunlawton and I saw exactly what you
Yeah.
described, and so staff and I have talked about, is it possible to have a dedicated person on staff that could ride that and just, they'll have to ride it on a 4x4 and pick up trash. It'll
Yeah.
be an all-day job between Dunlawton, Nova, and Ridgewood. It'll be pretty much a one-day job for them. But we have talked about that. I don't know if I can do it 5 days a week, but certainly staff and I are going to see if we can't reallocate some folks with that task. Right now, we're having a bit of difficulty with staffing. We're not the only one. Every contractor, every municipality is having a problem with staffing levels. We're down about 20% of our public works staff, but we think we can help that garbage pickup out there.
Okay. Anything else?
Just a couple of comments. So the design we did on Dunlawton, I think, gives us as a city a much greater chance of success moving forward than we've had on some of the other projects. Some of the other projects that we did, like from Spruce Creek East, and then some of the US 1 stuff, I think there was just too many small plants and little things that it just, like, the contractors just couldn't stay on top of it. So, but what we learned in that, or at least I felt like I learned for sure, was we didn't have a plan in place for when things are getting damaged, getting them taken care of. You're gonna have a car crash, car's gonna go through the median, it's gonna take out 10 plants. You have to have a plan in place for somebody to go out there and replace the 10 plants. Because we wanna
Agreed.
keep it looking the way it looks now. It's not a, this is an expendable thing, and when a plant gets taken out by a drunk driver or a car crash, then it never goes back. And so I wanna make sure we're staying on top of that, for sure. But I do think that this project is much, much easier to maintain than we've had on some of the other projects that have a lot of I call it tedious work. But, if you put, and I know we initially had a design for that, but if you put 10,000 of these little 1-gallon plants in the median, it's a nightmare to try to maintain that. But I think this has a nice clean look. I can't tell you how many positive comments and feedback I've gotten from the community about how good it looks. So I want to just echo that comment, and accountability is going to be a huge thing, and I'm glad to hear you're saying that that's being reiterated to the contractor, because what we've learned in the past is that it goes from concerning to horrific very quick. And when it gets really, really bad, now we've lost it, and contractors can be upset and kick their feet and stomp around all they want, but at the end of the day, they're taking care of the taxpayers' investment that they've made out there, and they need to protect it. So
Agreed. And we are replacing some of those smaller plants in some of the other areas. We've also increased our budget for agricultural supplies on our grounds maintenance crews so that they do have the funding to be able to go out and replace those plants in a timely fashion. Some of the delays get to be if it's one of the large trees that wind up being a few $1,000s. If we know who did it and we're waiting for insurance to pay, sometimes there's a delay. So we're going to try and work through that, see if we can't get it taken care of sooner, and then deal with the insurance reimbursement after the fact.
Anybody else?
You mentioned
Appreciate
just
your patience.
having, sorry,
good.
you just mentioning trash pickup, and you said, as far as city staff that's going around looking for these things, I know Dunlawton takes up a lot of our time, and Ridgewood, the main intersections, but also some of the side streets I have noticed particularly. I've had a resident reach out to me about Jackson there by the car wash. There's some stuff going on there as far as trash. Can we just have somebody run out there and take a look at that?
Sure.
I'm always on the lookout for little things. I'm always reaching out to Wayne or whatever. But a resident reached out to me about that one, and while we're on the subject, it seems like a good time to bring it up.
Very good.
Please
We'll take
and
care
thank
of
you.
it.
Thank you.
Sure.
City Attorney?
Yes, just a couple of items. One is, so I've talked to you back in November on the national opioid class action. That's been an effort really from attorney generals across the nation have gone after some of these pharmaceutical companies that were responsible for profiting off basically a national epidemic with the opioid crisis. That is now nearing settlement. We just received word from the Florida Attorney General that they're getting into the final stages. There's been an MOU that's been sent out. You're probably hearing some big dollar values at the national level, like billions and billions of dollars. I can tell you, once you divide that up by every city and county and the entire nation, that it gets to be pretty small. We'll be working with the county to put together a task force. We have members of PD and FD on that task force to determine what the best efforts will be to use that money going forward. The money will be limited in what we can use it for, and like I said, I don't think you can estimate that it's going to be a very large paycheck for the city. I think we were in the $20,000 to $30,000 range per year, but that may be over a certain number of years. So you'll see that on an upcoming agenda. Just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. And then next month is my eval, so I'll be sending you some forms to see which form may work the best for what you want, and I'll be reaching out to get some meeting times with each of you to have that. It's always a valuable process. That's all I got tonight.
Okay. City Manager?
Just one item. I wanted to update you a little on the American Rescue Plan Act funds. We expect to get in the ballpark of $9.6 million from this in 2 equal payments of $4.8 million. We still have no specific guidance from the Treasury Department at this time. I think many of you have seen the general categories that are out there. Probably the most black and white is making investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. The other categories related to premium pay for essential employees, addressing the economic impacts of the COVID-19 crisis, and working with revenue reductions are all not necessarily clear. So for us to go too far down the path of making recommendations and getting your input, I think what we found with the CARES Act is that as they modified their direction over time, there might have been better ways to spend the money in the future than governments were told in the beginning. So we are, at least as staff, working with those categories as we can, particularly the departments that are more clear. So the public utilities, water, sewer, we're trying to get together a list of projects that will work should that come forward. The lesson we learned from the CARES process is that the money came rather quick to the county, and they were told to get it quick and act quick. So we are prepared as soon as we are told the money is available to get the mayor's authorization. So if we end up coming back to you with something, we will follow those timelines and make sure that we do not miss whatever is required to get this money. So we hope that we can get it on a regular agenda, but if it's necessary to hold a special meeting not to miss this disbursement, we will do so. And as soon as we get direction, we will let you know so that we can begin the process of putting together recommendations for you.
Was there anything in black and white to indicate whether or not we're able to allocate any part of that toward reserves?
That's what we're waiting for with the guidance from Treasury, is what we can do with it.
In both the city managers group, we met last week. All the managers in the county met and discussed the lack of direction. I think the mayor's group will be doing the same thing, and then most likely the elected officials roundtable coming up. It'll probably be a topic there. So
yeah.
I don't think the direction is clear yet on what to do.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Council committee report, city council committee report for River to Sea TPO.
I commented on this the other night at the workshop. I'll just reiterate that that there may be some unexpected funds becoming available that TPO and the state wasn't necessarily expecting to see from the last federal stimulus dollars and things like that. So they are encouraging municipalities to have projects shovel ready, have everything ready to go. Our staff's always fabulous at being able to take advantage of things at short notice that can really benefit the taxpayers and stretch the dollars. So we don't know what that's going to look like yet, and we don't know how much, but some projects that probably weren't forecasted to be on the radar in the next year or two, maybe getting put back on the radar. So that could be very beneficial for us.
That's it. Anything else come before us this evening? There being nothing else, I will close out by saying, may the 4th be with you. Have a good night.